Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the TDF Victory. The ship was one of 12 human vessels moving through space near the edge of human territory. It was a quiet morning, and Jake was reading reports from his officers when something changed. Lisa Adams worked at the communication station. She had been listening to the usual space chatter when her equipment picked up something new. Her face showed confusion as she turned to face the captain. "Captain, we have a message coming in from the Galactic Empire," she said. "They want us to surrender right away." Jake looked at his second-in-command, Ryan Brooks. Both men knew this was strange. The Empire had not bothered humans for 20 years. They had signed a peace treaty after some small fights along the border. The Empire always thought humans were not very smart or advanced, but they had agreed to leave human space alone. "Let me hear it," Jake said. The main screen turned on. A tall alien appeared on it. He had dark scales like a snake and bright yellow eyes. His red uniform had gold symbols that showed he was important in the Empire's military. This was Admiral Xiphon Kral of the Empire's Third Fleet. "Listen, stupid humans," the alien said in a voice that sounded mean and proud. "Your weak ships have been flying in our space too much. You will give up now, or we will destroy you with our powerful fleet." The message ended suddenly. The bridge became very quiet. Jake leaned back in his chair and smiled slowly. "Well," he said to Ryan, "this should be fun." Danny Walsh worked at the navigation station. He brought up a map on his screen that showed where all the ships were. Red dots surrounded the 12 human ships. "Sir, they have 4 ships for every one of ours." "I can see their big warships, smaller cruisers, and fighter ships. Has Admiral Carter on Earth heard about this?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her messages. "I already sent the report, Captain," Admiral Carter wrote back. "She said some strong words and then told us to let them come. She said it has been too quiet out here." Jake laughed. The Empire's new commanders did not remember what fighting humans was really like. The older Empire officers who had fought humans before had all quit their jobs or moved to faraway places in space. During those border fights 20 years ago, humans had surprised everyone. The Empire expected easy victories against primitive humans. Instead, they found humans who fought in ways no one expected. Human ships moved differently. Human weapons worked differently. Human tactics confused the Empire's best generals. But after the peace treaty, most people forgot about those fights. The Empire's leaders convinced themselves that humans had just been lucky. They believed their new technology would easily beat any human resistance. Jake did not know this, but across the galaxy, old Empire veterans were shaking their heads. They had tried to warn their leaders about humans, but no one listened. The veterans remembered how human engineers could fix broken ships with spare parts and wire. They remembered how human captains would attack when retreat made more sense. They remembered how human crews would keep fighting even when their ships were falling apart. "All ships, stay in formation," Jake told his fleet over the radio. "And someone bring me coffee. This is going to teach them something." On the other human ships, the crews went about their normal work. Chief Engineer Pete Lawson on the TDF Guardian was checking his engines and humming an old song from Earth. On the TDF Ranger, Kelly Stone was reading a book between equipment checks. She worked with the ship's weapons but seemed more interested in her novel. "Do you think they will really attack us?" asked Alex Turner. He operated guns on the TDF Phoenix. Tony Martinez loaded ammunition for the weapons. He did not look worried. Admiral Carter started a betting pool. People are guessing how long it will take them to figure out their mistake. Most bets say 37 minutes. "I think it will be faster than that," Alex said with a smile. The relaxed mood on the human ships would have confused the Empire forces. These humans showed no fear. They did not rush around preparing for battle. They acted like they were about to do a training exercise instead of fight for their lives. This calmness had a reason. For 20 years, humans had been busy. While the Empire improved their existing technology bit by bit, humans had completely changed how they built ships and weapons. Earth scientists and engineers had studied every piece of Empire technology they could find. They had learned from their enemies and then built something much better. The human ships looked similar to the old ones from 20 years ago, but that was just the outside. Inside, everything was new. The engines were more powerful. The weapons were more accurate. The armor was stronger. The computers were faster. But the most important change was not in the ships themselves. It was in how humans thought about space battles. The Empire still fought the same way they had for hundreds of years. Humans had invented completely new ways to fight. Admiral Krall looked at his displays and saw human ships that appeared old and weak. He saw a small fleet that was outnumbered and outgunned. He believed this would be an easy victory that would remind the galaxy of Empire power. He did not know that the humans were also looking at their displays. They could see exactly where every Empire ship was located. They knew what weapons each ship carried. They had been tracking the Empire fleet for weeks as it moved toward human space. The humans knew this confrontation was coming long before Admiral Krall sent his surrender demand. They had time to prepare, time to plan, and time to decide exactly how they wanted this fight to end. Jake finished his coffee and set the cup aside. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. They were professionals doing a job they had trained for many times. "Sir," Lisa said, "the Empire ships are moving into attack formation." "Good," Jake replied. "Let them come close. I want them to get a really good look at what human engineering can do." In the distance, the Empire fleet prepared for what they thought would be a quick and easy victory. They had no idea they were about to learn why the old Empire veterans had nightmares about fighting humans. Admiral Zephan Krall stood in the command center of his flagship, the Sovereign Dominion. The room was huge and filled with screens showing the locations of both fleets. His officers came from different alien races, but they all served the Empire with complete loyalty. "Admiral," said Commander Zix, his tactical officer. Zix looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and compound eyes. "The human ships are not running away. They are staying in the same formation." Krall made a sound that was like laughter for his species. His jaw moved in a way that showed his sharp teeth. "These foolish mammals think their old technology can fight against Empire engineering." Captain Vex Norayan had blue skin and came from the planet Altair. He pointed to the tactical display that showed the human ships. "Sir, our intelligence reports say these are the same types of ships that fought us 20 years ago. They cannot be dangerous to our modern fleet." "You are right," Krall agreed. His yellow eyes seemed to glow with excitement. "The humans had some lucky wins back then, but we have made our ships much better since then. Our shields are stronger, our weapons are more powerful, and our tactics are smarter. Their simple kinetic weapons and nuclear missiles will not even scratch our armor." The other officers on the bridge agreed with their admiral. The Empire's technology was famous throughout the galaxy. Their energy shields could stop almost any weapon. Their plasma cannons could cut through enemy ships like a hot knife through butter. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. They had defeated every enemy they had ever faced. Their ships were built in massive shipyards that could produce hundreds of vessels. Their weapons were designed by the best scientists from dozens of worlds. "Open communications to all ships," Krall ordered. "Today we will show the galaxy what happens when inferior species challenge the Empire." The Admiral felt confident because he believed the intelligence reports about human capabilities. According to Empire records, humans used primitive technology based on chemical rockets and metal projectiles. Their ships were slow and clumsy. Their weapons were weak and inaccurate. What the intelligence reports did not mention was that they were 20 years old. The Empire's spy network had not been very active in human space since the peace treaty. They assumed that humans would develop new technology slowly, just like most other species. This was a mistake. Humans developed technology differently than other species. When most aliens found something that worked, they improved it gradually over many years. Humans would use something for a while, then throw it away and build something completely different. On the human ships, the crews continued their relaxed behavior. Chief Engineer Pete Lawson was still humming his song while checking the ship's power systems. On the TDF Ranger, Kelly Stone had finished one chapter of her book and started another. "Think they will actually attack?" asked Alex Turner on the TDF Phoenix. Tony Martinez was cleaning his equipment. "The betting pool is getting bigger. Some people think it will take an hour before they understand what is happening. I still think it will be faster," Alex said. The casual attitude of the human crews would have shocked the Empire officers. These humans acted like they were not worried at all. They seemed to think this was a normal day at work instead of a life or death battle. Admiral Krall watched the human ships through his long-range sensors. He saw crews moving around slowly and calmly. He thought this meant the humans had already given up hope. He believed they knew they could not win and were just waiting to die. "Look at them," he told his officers. "They are not even trying to prepare for battle. This will be easier than I thought." Commander Zix studied the sensor readings. Sir, their ships are very quiet. Almost no energy signatures except for basic life support and propulsion. Of course, Kral said. Their technology is so primitive they probably cannot generate enough power to run their weapons and shields at the same time. Captain Norian laughed. Remember the stories from the border conflicts? Human ships that had to choose between moving fast or shooting accurately, because they did not have enough power for both. The Empire officers shared the joke. They found it amusing that humans had such weak technology. In their minds, this battle would be over quickly and without much effort. Dr. Rainavos was the only scientist on the bridge. She was studying the human ships more carefully than the others. Something bothered her about what she was seeing, but she could not figure out what it was. Admiral, she said carefully, the human ships look the same as 20 years ago, but some of the sensor readings are unusual. What do you mean? Kral asked. Their hull composition shows some materials I do not recognize, and their power generation seems more efficient than our records indicate. Kral waved his hand dismissively. Probably just maintenance upgrades and better fuel. Nothing that would change their combat effectiveness. Dr. Voss was not convinced, but she did not argue with her superior. She continued studying the readings and making notes for later analysis. The truth was that the human ships were running on minimal power on purpose. Their new fusion reactors could generate 100 times more energy than the old ones, but they were keeping them turned down. Their new computers were monitoring the Empire fleet and calculating the best way to fight, but they were doing it quietly. The humans wanted the Empire to feel confident. They wanted Admiral Kral to believe this would be an easy victory. The more confident the Empire became, the bigger their surprise would be. Sir, Commander Zix reported, all ships are in position. We have the humans completely surrounded. Kral looked at the tactical display with satisfaction. His ships formed a perfect sphere around the human vessels. No matter which direction the humans tried to run, they would face Empire weapons. Excellent, he said. Begin the attack. Show these primitives the power of the Empire. All ships commence firing, he ordered. Across the Empire fleet, weapons officers pressed their firing controls. Hundreds of plasma cannons turned toward the human ships and prepared to fire. The Empire's most advanced weapons were about to demonstrate their superiority over human technology. Admiral Kral smiled as he watched his weapons charge up. In a few seconds, this embarrassing situation would be over. The humans would be destroyed, and the Empire's reputation would be restored. He had no idea that he was about to learn why experienced Empire veterans never talked about their fights with humans. The first wave of Empire plasma bolts streaked across space like green lightning. Hundreds of energy beams converged on the human ships from all directions. Admiral Kral watched with satisfaction as the brilliant weapons struck their targets perfectly. Direct hits on all enemy ships, Commander Zix reported from his station. No damage to our formation. Kral expected to see explosions and debris. He expected the human ships to break apart or catch fire. Instead, the plasma beams simply disappeared when they hit the human hulls. No explosions, no damage, not even burn marks on the metal. What happened? Kral demanded. Why are they still in one piece? Before anyone could answer, the human ships began to move. They did not move like the slow, clumsy vessels Kral expected. They moved smoothly and quickly, like dancers performing a careful routine. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system to his fleet. All ships you may fire when ready. Time to remind the Empire why their old officers retired. The TDF Victory turned gracefully, showing its side to the Empire formation. Along the ship's hull, metal panels slid open. Behind the panels were rows of launch tubes that had been hidden from view. Multiple missile launches detected, Zix reported. His voice was getting higher with worry. I count hundreds of missiles coming at us. These were not the simple nuclear missiles the Empire remembered from 20 years ago. These were modern human weapons with computer brains that could think and learn. They moved through space like living creatures, changing direction to avoid defensive fire and working together to find the best attack routes. But the real shock came when the human ships fired their main guns. Space lit up with streams of projectiles moving faster than anything the Empire had ever seen. The metal slugs traveled at speeds close to the speed of light itself. The Empire's energy shields were designed to stop plasma bolts and laser beams. They were useless against solid chunks of metal moving at incredible speeds. The shields might as well have been made of paper. The first Empire cruiser, named Eternal Glory, simply came apart when a stream of tungsten slugs passed through it from front to back. The ship broke into pieces like a toy hit by a hammer. Impossible, Krall whispered. How are they getting through our shields? Dr. Reyna Voss was frantically studying the human weapons with her instruments. Admiral, their projectiles are using some kind of exotic matter manipulation. The kinetic energy is being focused and concentrated beyond anything in our computers. 3 more Empire ships suffered terrible damage in the first few seconds. The humans had upgraded their weapons far beyond what Empire intelligence had predicted. The metal slugs did not just punch holes in the ships. They transferred so much energy that entire sections simply vaporized. All ships, focus all fire on the lead human ship, Krall ordered. Desperation was creeping into his voice. The Empire fleet responded immediately. Every plasma cannon in the fleet turned toward the TDF Victory. Hundreds of energy beams converged on Morrison's ship. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Captain Morrison watched the light show with calm interest. How is our armor holding up? He asked his damage control officer, Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez. Ablative armor is working perfectly, sir, Rodriguez replied. Hull temperature is well within safe limits. The human ships had been equipped with experimental armor that could absorb enormous amounts of energy. The armor worked by having outer layers that would vaporize when hit, carrying the heat away from the ship. Combined with new shield technology, the ships were almost immune to energy weapons. Return fire, Morrison ordered calmly, and please explain to our Empire friends what happens when humans have 20 years to prepare. The human weapons fired again. This time 5 Empire ships were destroyed or disabled. The Empire fleet was being torn apart, while the human ships showed almost no damage. Dr. Voss continued analyzing the battle data. What she found terrified her. Admiral, these weapons are not just improved versions of old human technology. They represent completely new principles of physics. The Empire had spent 20 years making gradual improvements to their existing technology. Their ships were faster, their weapons were more powerful, and their shields were stronger. But they were still based on the same basic ideas they had used for centuries. Humans had taken a different approach. They had studied Empire technology and learned from it. Then they had thrown away their old ideas and invented completely new ones. The human ships were not upgraded versions of old designs. They were revolutionary new machines based on advanced science. Sir, Captain Norian said quietly, perhaps we should withdraw and reassess the situation. No, Krall roared. The Empire does not retreat from inferior species. Deploy the reserve squadrons and activate the quantum disruptors. The Empire's secret weapons were unleashed. These were exotic energy weapons designed to break apart matter at the smallest level. The brilliant blue beams shot toward the human formation. These weapons had never failed to destroy their targets. On the TDF Victory, Science Officer Dr. Amy Foster watched the incoming energy with professional interest. Captain, they are using quantum destabilization weapons. Interesting technology, though about 40 years behind our current understanding. Morrison nodded. Countermeasures? Already active, sir. Our quantum field generators are creating localized space-time distortions. Their weapons will simply pass through us without effect. The quantum disruptor beams passed through the human ships as if they were ghosts. The weapons continued harmlessly into deep space without causing any damage. Krall watched in horror as his ultimate weapons proved completely useless. How is this possible? He demanded. Dr. Voss was reviewing every piece of information the Empire had about human technology. Admiral, I believe we have severely underestimated their rate of development. According to these readings, their technological advancement has accelerated exponentially since the border conflicts. What the Empire did not understand was that humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or armor, it was how they solved problems. While other species improved existing solutions slowly, humans would completely reimagine the problem itself. The human approach to space warfare had been revolutionized. They had studied every battle they had ever fought and learned from every mistake. They had taken inspiration from Empire technology and used it to leapfrog centuries of development in just 20 years. Captain Morrison opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Victory. I think we have made our point. Let's finish this quickly and efficiently. The human formation changed into what Empire tacticians would later call a perfect killing pattern. Each ship's weapons were coordinated through quantum communications, creating overlapping fields of fire that left no escape routes. The remaining Empire ships found themselves trapped in a three-dimensional maze of hypervelocity projectiles and guided missiles. One by one, they either surrendered or were systematically disabled. Admiral Krall watched his proud fleet reduced to scrap metal and escape pods. He finally understood the truth. Humanity had not just matched Empire technology. They had surpassed it so completely that this entire battle had been nothing more than a test of their new weapons. The battle had become a disaster for the Empire, but not the kind Admiral Krall had expected. Half his fleet was either destroyed or badly damaged, while the human ships looked almost untouched. His pride as an Empire officer fought with his growing understanding that he had made a terrible mistake. Around him, the bridge crew worked frantically to save what remained of their fleet. Damage reports came in constantly. The Empire ships that were still functioning were barely able to fight. Many had lost their main weapons. Others had holes in their hulls and were losing air. "Sir," Captain Norian said quietly, "we should retreat and study this situation more carefully." "No," Krall shouted. "The Empire does not run away from inferior species. Send in the reserve squadrons and turn on the quantum disruptors." Krall was desperate. The battle was not going as planned, but he could not accept defeat. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. They had never lost a major battle to a smaller force. The idea that humans could defeat them was impossible to accept. The Empire's most secret weapons were activated. These were energy weapons that could break apart matter at the quantum level. The brilliant blue beams shot toward the human ships. These weapons had been developed in the Empire's most advanced laboratories. They had never failed to destroy their targets. On the TDF Victory, Science Officer Dr. Amy Foster monitored the incoming energy with calm interest. She had studied these weapons before and knew exactly how they worked. "Captain, they are using quantum destabilization weapons. Fascinating technology, though about 40 years behind our current understanding of quantum mechanics." Morrison nodded. "Can we stop them?" "Already stopped, sir. Our quantum field generators are creating localized space-time distortions. Their weapons will simply phase through us without interaction. The quantum disruptor beams pass through the human ships like they were not there. The weapons continued harmlessly into deep space. Krall watched in complete shock as his most powerful weapons had no effect at all. "How is this possible?" he asked. His voice was becoming weak with disbelief. Dr. Voss was frantically checking every database the Empire had about human technology. "Admiral, I believe we have completely misunderstood their development rate. According to these readings, their technological advancement has grown exponentially since the border conflicts. The Empire had made a fundamental error in understanding how humans develop technology. Most alien species improved their technology slowly and carefully. They would take an existing design and make small improvements over many years. This gradual approach was safe and predictable. Humans worked differently. When they found a better way to do something, they would throw away the old method completely and start over. This approach was risky, but it could lead to massive breakthroughs in short periods of time. During the 20 years of peace, the Empire had assumed humans would develop new technology at the same slow pace as other species. They had improved their own ships and weapons by perhaps 20%. They expected humans to have made similar improvements. Instead, humans had revolutionized everything. Their new ships were not improved versions of old designs. They were completely new machines based on advanced principles of physics and engineering that the Empire had never seen before. The human ships used fusion reactors that could generate 100 times more power than the old ones. Their computers could process information faster than Empire supercomputers. Their weapons could fire projectiles at speeds that approached the speed of light. But the most important change was in how humans thought about space combat. The Empire still used tactics that were hundreds of years old. They relied on big ships with powerful weapons and strong shields. Their battle plans were based on the idea that the side with more firepower would win. Humans had developed completely new ways to fight in space. They used speed and coordination instead of raw power. Their ships worked together like parts of a single machine. Their weapons were designed to exploit weaknesses in Empire technology. Captain Morrison opened a communication channel to all human ships. "All ships, this is Victory. I think we have made our point clear. Let's wrap this up quickly and professionally." The human formation changed smoothly into what Empire observers would later describe as a perfect attack pattern. Each ship knew exactly where every other ship was located. Their weapons were coordinated through quantum-encrypted communications that could not be intercepted or jammed. The human ships created overlapping fields of fire that covered every possible escape route. The remaining Empire ships found themselves trapped in a three-dimensional puzzle of hypervelocity projectiles and guided missiles. One by one, the Empire ships either surrendered or were systematically disabled. The human weapons were incredibly precise. They could destroy a ship's weapons without killing the crew. They could disable engines without causing the ship to explode. Admiral Krall realized that the humans were being merciful. They could have destroyed his entire fleet in minutes, but instead, they were giving his crews a chance to surrender. This made the defeat even more humiliating. "Admiral," Dr. Voss said quietly, "I have been analyzing the human weapon signatures. These appear to be their standard defensive systems, not their most advanced technology." Krall turned to stare at her. "What do you mean?" "The energy signatures suggest these weapons are designed for patrol duty, not major combat. If this represents their basic defensive capability, their true military strength must be far greater." The implications hit Krall like a physical blow. This entire battle had not been between the Empire's finest fleet and humanity's best ships. It had been between the Empire's finest fleet and a routine human patrol. "Open a channel to the human flagship," Krall said. His voice was hollow with defeat. Captain Morrison's face appeared on the Empire flagship's main screen. Krall was struck by the human's relaxed appearance. Morrison looked like he had just completed a training exercise rather than having destroyed one of the Empire's most powerful fleets. "Admiral Krall," Morrison said pleasantly, "I trust you are ready to discuss terms." Krall's officers stared in shock at their leader's obvious defeat. The Admiral himself struggled to maintain his dignity. "What are your demands?" Morrison leaned back in his chair, seeming almost bored by the conversation. "Well, first, you will withdraw all Empire forces from this sector immediately. Second, you will pay compensation to the families of the miners your ships killed when you attacked the civilian station at Kepler 442. And third," Morrison paused, his expression becoming slightly more serious, "you will send a message to your superiors explaining that the next Empire force that attacks human civilians will face the entire Terran defense fleet. The Empire will never." Krall began. "Admiral," Morrison interrupted. His voice carried quiet authority that made the alien commander stop talking. "Let me explain something about humans that your intelligence files apparently missed. We do not look for fights, but we prepare for them constantly. While you have been maintaining your fleet, we have been revolutionizing ours. What you have seen today represents maybe 5% of our current capabilities." Morrison gestured to someone off-screen, and new information began streaming to the Empire flagship. Technical specifications, weapon capabilities, and fleet compositions appeared on Krall's displays. The numbers made the Admiral's scales turn pale with fear. "These are the public specifications for our defensive systems," Morrison continued calmly. "The classified systems are substantially more advanced. Did you know we have been testing faster-than-light missiles? Or that our newest ships can phase shift through normal spacetime?" Dr. Voss whispered urgently to Krall. "Sir, if even half of this data is accurate, the Empire's technological advantage may be completely obsolete." Morrison smiled, and there was something dangerous in the expression. "The amusing part, Admiral, is that we have known about your fleet movements for 3 weeks. We have been monitoring your communications, tracking your supply lines, and mapping your command structure. This entire confrontation could have been avoided if you had simply asked for our mining schedules instead of demanding our surrender." Krall felt his world crumbling around him. The Empire's intelligence network was supposed to be the best in the galaxy. How had humans been watching them without being detected? How had they intercepted secure Empire communications? The answer was that human technology had advanced far beyond what the Empire thought possible. Human ships could monitor Empire communications from across star systems. Human computers could break Empire encryption codes in minutes. Human sensors could track Empire ships through hyperspace itself. Morrison's tone became conversational again. "Earth's policy toward the Empire remains unchanged. We want peaceful coexistence with mutual respect. But if you prefer the alternative," he gestured toward the wreckage of the Empire fleet floating around them. The human captain was offering Krall a choice. The Empire could continue to treat humans as equals and maintain peaceful relations. Or they could continue to see humans as inferior and face the consequences. Krall found his voice. I will convey your message to the High Command. Excellent, Morrison replied. Oh, and Admiral? Our salvage rights claim the wreckage of your ships. We will be studying your technology to ensure we maintain our defensive capabilities. Standard interstellar salvage law. Of course. The irony was not lost on Krull. The Empire's own legal framework now protected the humans' right to reverse engineer Empire technology from the ships he had just lost. The humans would learn Empire secrets and use them to become even more powerful. One more thing, Morrison added. The next time the Empire wants to test human resolve, I suggest you send diplomats instead of warships. Our response to diplomatic inquiries is much more civilized. The transmission ended, leaving the Empire bridge in stunned silence. Krull stared at the blank screen for a long time, trying to process what had just happened. 3 hours later, as the human fleet departed the battlefield, Admiral Krull sat alone in his quarters composing his report to the High Command. He stared at the words on his screen for a long time before sending them. Mission parameters exceeded enemy capabilities. Recommend immediate policy revision regarding human engagement protocols. Empire technological superiority no longer assumed. Request urgent strategic reassessment of Terran threat level. It was the most difficult report he had ever written. He was essentially admitting that everything the Empire believed about humans was wrong. The consequences for his career would be severe, but the consequences of hiding the truth would be much worse. In the depths of space, the human fleet continued its normal patrol route as if nothing unusual had happened. On the TDF Victory, Captain Morrison was already reviewing reports for the next day's activities when his communications officer looked up from her station. Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Carter on Earth. Put her through, Morrison said. Admiral Carter's weathered face appeared on screen. Her expression was somewhere between amused and annoyed. Jake, please tell me you did not completely destroy them, Morrison smiled. Only about 60% casualties, Admiral. We left enough survivors to spread the word. Good, Carter replied. The diplomatic corps was getting worried we would have to explain why an entire Empire fleet had simply vanished. She paused. Any indication they understand the message? I believe Admiral Krull is a quick learner, Morrison said. Though I suspect the Empire's younger officers are going to need some time to adjust their assumptions about human capabilities. Carter nodded with approval. Well done, Captain. Maintain your patrol schedule and keep me informed of any Empire response. And Jake? Yes, Admiral. Next time they want to play war games, charge them for the ammunition. The transmission ended and Captain Morrison returned to his routine reports. Another day in the Terran Defense Fleet, protecting human space with the quiet professionalism that had made humanity the galaxy's most underestimated and therefore most dangerous species. The human crews went back to their normal duties. Pete Lawson continued humming while he worked on the engines. Kelly Stone finished another chapter of her book. Alex Turner and Tony Martinez discussed their winnings from the betting pool. To them, this had been just another day at work. They had done their jobs professionally and efficiently. The fact that they had just defeated one of the Empire's most powerful fleets was not particularly exciting. It was what they were trained to do. This casual attitude was perhaps the most frightening thing about humans from the Empire's perspective. The humans had not been angry or excited during the battle. They had not celebrated their victory or gloated over their enemy's defeat. They had simply done what needed to be done and moved on. Behind them, the wreckage of the Empire fleet served as a silent monument to a new truth in the galaxy. The age of Empire dominance was ending. The age of human technological superiority had begun, but the humans did not see it that way. To them, they were simply defending their territory against an aggressor. They had used the minimum force necessary to accomplish their goals. They had shown mercy to their enemies and offered them a peaceful alternative. The Empire would need time to understand what had really happened. Their leaders would need to accept that the galaxy had changed. The species they had dismissed as primitive and inferior had become their technological superiors. Some Empire leaders would accept this new reality and work toward genuine peace. Others would refuse to believe it and plan for revenge. But all of them would remember the day when human amusement ended and human power was revealed. The message was clear. Humans preferred peace, but they were prepared for war. And when humans prepared for something, they did it very, very well.